Now, like I said, the fighting continues to get easier and easier, and they're starting to see, people surrender. They're also starting to see like young kids, because you're starting to see the Hitler Youth that are being recruited. They're 13 years old, 14 years old, kids that are surrendering. They fight through Corbetha and Lopitz and Kriegsdorf, and I apologize for my lack of German speaking capability. But they get into one town, and one of the lieutenants, Lieutenant Whitman, kind of pushes into the town with a small team, and he's in there. He's in one of the buildings, and all of a sudden, like a massive group of German soldiers comes in, and they're kind of stuck there. So here we go, back to the book. Lieutenant Whitman called suddenly over the radio, and I knew by the excitement in his voice that something had either happened or was about to happen. You better get somebody else up here to help us out. Sounds like a whole regiment of Krauts coming this way up the highway. So he's trying to figure out what's happening, and then the radio sputtered. Hello, G6. This is Whit. So G6 is the call sign for McDonald's. Hello, G6. This is Whit. For God's sake, get someone up here to help. There's Germans all over the goddamn place. I grasped the speaker from Wes Miller's outstretched hand. Whit, this is Mac, I said. They caught us halfway across the open field. The men have taken off. I'll have to go back and get them to come up. Over. For God's sake, get us up some help quick. We're completely surrounded. Roger. Out. So now Whitman's in one of these buildings, completely surrounded. This continues on. The battalion radio was silent. I called for Lieutenant Whitman, and his voice came through weakly, as though he were speaking in a stage whisper. I'm back on the left side of the highway, he said, in a house. I've got 9 men with me. Germans are running all around all over the place. I lost track of all the other men, heard some of them surrendering. Get us some help quick, or they'll find out where we are when they start searching the houses. So MacDonald calls battalion, hey, we need some help here. No, you don't get any help. And so he tells Whitman, or Whitman hears it on the radio, that he's not going to get any help, he's not going to get any support. And this is what Whitman says. There's only one thing to do then, he continued. If we have to wait that long, they're sure to find us. We'll go down to the cellar, and you start plastering us with artillery fire. We're inside, and the Krauts are out in the open. We'll help you direct fire from here. I knew his decision called for a generous amount of fortitude, even though he would be partially protected in the cellar. Lieutenant Reed set up his artillery radio, and artillery gave us a priority mission. Sergeant Barnes arrived with his platoon and the machine gun section. I sent them into position along with a platoon of heavy machine guns from H Company. To hell with the ammunition, I said. We'll get more from somewhere. Spray the hell out of the whole area. The machine guns opened up, and artillery whistled overhead, thundering into the open field dangerously close to the paling fence at the end of the garden. 300 short, Lieutenant Reed yelled into his radio. 300 short. The artillery whistled overhead again and plummeted into the houses beyond us with a terrific roar. Orange flames lit the darkness like flashes of lightning. That's right on top of us, Whitman cried, delighted. Let her go again. We can hear Germans running all over the place outside. Lieutenant Reed called for barrage after barrage, and the big shells roared into the objective. The Germans made feeble efforts at retaliation with their machine guns, but the shots died away in the explosion of the big artillery shells. A direct hit transformed a house into a mass of roaring flames. Is that your house? I asked Whitman, half fearfully. No, seems to be on our left, he answered. Give us another volley in the same place. Sounds like a tank or some kind of armored car pulled up. Lieutenant Reed called for a repeat volley. That hit just right, Whitman said, his voice scarcely audible over the radio. I wondered what had happened to his radio and was afraid that perhaps the batteries were going dead and we would lose our only means of communication. I can't talk loud, he said. I've got 15 Kraut prisoners down here in the cellar with me, and some Germans have come in upstairs. We can hear them walking around. If one of these prisoners so much as opens his mouth, I'll plug him. So there's another situation where you're calling in artillery to your position. You just happen to be in the cellar of a house. Crazy.